Sure, here's the English translation of your story titled Ancient Greece's Spartans, A Thrilling Tale, Part 1, The Beginning. Ancient Greece's Spartans, A Thrilling Tale, Part 1, The Beginning. In the annals of Greek history, Sparta emerged as a warrior nation like no other. Their unmatched discipline, martial prowess, and unwavering devotion to their state earned them an immortal place in history. Among Sparta's many legacies, the famous Battle of Thermopylae holds a special significance. It perfectly reflects the indomitable spirit of the Spartan warriors. Fought in 480 BCE, the Battle of Thermopylae is a tale of courage and sacrifice that embodies the Spartan soul. Under the command of King Leonidas I, a small force of approximately 300 Spartans, joined by their Greek allies, stood against the massive army of the Persian king Xerxes. For 3 days, the Spartans held a narrow mountain pass with extraordinary discipline and bravery. The mountain pass of Thermopylae was silent, soon to become the site of a terrifying battle. Leonidas, standing tall with his red-cloaked warriors, gazed out over the vast Persian army stretching into the horizon. Dust rose from the plains, veiling the sky, while the ground trembled under the hooves of Persian horses. Despite the overwhelming odds, there was no fear on Leonidas's face. Instead, his eyes gleamed with a strange light, a reflection of the unshakable resolve burning within him. The Spartan warriors, with their towering physiques and gleaming battle armor, stood firmly on the rocky slopes, their spears poised like silent predators, waiting to strike. Persian messengers came with demands of surrender, their voices echoing among the Spartans. But each message was met with a single, firm reply from Leonidas: "Come and take them." These words, a shining example of Spartan brevity, were enough to send a chill through the hearts of the Persians. Accustomed to being obeyed, the messengers were stunned by the Spartans' defiance. It was hard for them to believe that a mere handful of soldiers dared to stand against the might of an empire. As the days passed, skirmishes between the Spartans and Persians intensified. The narrow pass neutralized the Persian numerical advantage, and the Spartans, masters of the legendary phalanx formation, created an impenetrable wall of shields. Their spears delivered death with precision. But it soon became clear that this was not merely a battle of strength. It was a battle of strategy, sacrifice, and resolve. Leonidas knew his men were few, but he also knew they possessed a weapon the Persians could never match: the willingness to die for their homeland. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next part will take you straight into the fire of the battlefield, where death itself trembled before Spartan courage. In the first part, we saw how the Spartans halted the advance of the Persian army at Thermopylae. Now, the story deepens as we learn more about the courage of the Spartan warriors and the growing despair of the Persians. The Battle of Thermopylae took a decisive turn as Spartan strategy and bravery began to overpower the numerical superiority of the Persians. Under the leadership of Leonidas, the Spartans took full advantage of the terrain. The narrow pass rendered the vast Persian numbers ineffective, and the Spartans, with their legendary phalanx formation, struck the enemy like a force of death. Every Spartan soldier fought like a trained killer. His movements carried a deadly grace that instilled fear in the hearts of the Persians. But the Persians possessed a hidden weapon: a traitor. One of the local inhabitants, Ephialtes, informed Xerxes of a secret mountain path that led behind the Spartan lines. This revelation was about to change the course of the war. Ephialtes, driven by a mix of personal greed and hatred for the Spartans, presented himself before the Persian king and revealed a secret his tribe had guarded for generations. This path, known only to local shepherds, could create a fatal breach in the Spartans' defense. When Ephialtes told Xerxes about the secret route, a wicked gleam appeared in the Persian king's eyes. He immediately dispatched his best troops through that path, led by his trusted general Hydarnes. Ephialtes' betrayal was a devastating blow that shook the morale of the Spartans. Leonidas, already concerned about the small number of his troops, now faced a new and dangerous threat. He realized that Ephialtes' treachery could render all his strategies useless in an instant. Leonidas knew he had very little time. He now had to not only resist the Persian attack from the front, but also defend against the new threat approaching from the rear. In this situation, Leonidas made a decision that would become a timeless example for generations to come. Please use the comment section below to share your thoughts. Part 3. The Siege. In the previous part, we saw how Ephialtes' betrayal created a new threat for the Spartans. Now we focus on how the Spartans responded to this situation and what hope remained for their survival. After the Persians began approaching through the secret path, Leonidas and his soldiers found themselves trapped. A vast Persian army stood in front of them, and now the enemy was attacking from behind as well. Yet the Spartans refused to surrender. They took up position on a small hill and began preparing for a final stand. Leonidas gathered his warriors, looked them in the eyes and said, "Spartan warriors, today we will make history. Today we will show the world what Sparta truly means. We may die, but we will never surrender. We will sacrifice our lives for our land, and our sacrifice will be remembered by generations to come." This final stand of the Spartans is a story that will be remembered forever. They summoned all their strength and skill and repelled every wave of attack. Their shields were like walls, and their spears flashed like lightning. They fought without any concern for their own lives, each soldier vowing to give his life for his land and his people. Though few in number, the Spartan warriors fought like lions. Their war cries echoed in the mountains, and the intensity of their assaults shook the Persian ranks. As the day wore on, the battle grew fiercer. The number of Spartans dwindled, but their morale never wavered. They fought for every inch of ground, forcing the Persians to pay a heavy price. Xerxes, who had been so confident in his victory, was now stunned by the courage and resilience of these few warriors. He could not believe that a few hundred men were standing unbreakable wall against his supposedly invincible army. Leonidas knew this was a suicide mission, but he also knew that his sacrifice would help unite Greece against the Persian threat. Share this story with your friends and family. Subscribe. Zawal, Part 4, The Fall. Part 4, The Fall. In the previous part, we saw how the Spartans made one final stand against the Persians. Now we delve into the tragic end of this battle and the fall of the Spartans. Despite their unmatched bravery and sacrifice at Thermopylae, the Spartans were ultimately defeated by the overwhelming numbers of the Persian army. All the Spartan warriors, including Leonidas, were killed in battle, and their stand ended in a tragic loss. But their deaths were not in vain. Their sacrifice bought the Greek city-states precious time to unite and launch a counterattack against the Persian invasion. The blood of the Spartans ignited a flame of freedom in the hearts of the Greeks, one that could never be extinguished. After Thermopylae, the situation in Greece changed rapidly. The sacrifice of the Spartans uplifted the spirits of the Greeks, and they formed a united front against the Persians. Athens' naval power, combined with Sparta's land forces, led to decisive victories against the Persian army and eventually freed Greece from Persian domination. In this war, the Greeks proved that more important than numbers are unity, strategy, and the spirit of sacrifice. However, the defeat at Thermopylae marked the beginning of Sparta's decline. The heavy loss of life in battle and the political changes that followed weakened Sparta's power. Slowly but surely, Sparta's influence began to wane, and it became just another state in Greece. Sparta, once the most powerful city in all of Greece, was now struggling for its own survival. To hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, into English. Part 5, Legacy. In the previous part, we explored the fall of the Spartans and the impact of the war on Greece. Now we will focus on the legacy of the Spartans and the lasting effects of their story on the modern world. The Battle of Thermopylae and the sacrifice of the Spartans continue to inspire people around the world to this day. Their story is an eternal example of bravery, sacrifice, and dedication to duty. The legacy of the Spartans can be seen in various fields, including military strategy, philosophy, literature, and art. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his 300 soldiers will forever inspire people to stand up against tyranny and injustice. The military skills and discipline of the Spartans remain a model for armies worldwide. Their phalanx formation and battle strategies are still taught in modern military history. The Spartan principle of brevity, or laconic wit, is still used as an example of effective communication. Every aspect of Spartan life was dedicated to war, and their training system continues to be discussed in military circles around the world. However, the legacy of the Spartans is not limited to war and strategy. Their philosophy, which emphasized the welfare of the state over personal interests, continues to resonate in political and moral debates today. Their story reminds us that sometimes sacrifice for a greater cause is necessary. The Spartans proved that no matter how valuable a person's life may be, fighting for principles and values is far more important. If you want to hear a new story every day at midnight, except Sundays, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more upcoming stories.